Hello, welcome to today's edition of Pegasus Test. On today's edition, we're covering Desert Brutality 2020 Stage 6 Coronavirus Party. Although this was the last stage for people shooting the Retro Heavy, Classic, Retro Light, and Kalashnikov divisions, it was actually our first stage of the second day of shooting. And one of the things that's not going to come through in this video is how freaking cold it was. It was in the low 20s. And it was pretty rough. Also, you had some atmospheric conditions working against you, because while you're waiting for the big orange ball to get up in the sky and warm your happy ass up, it took time to creep over the berm. So the people outside the berm were warming up faster than you, which was kind of a disappointment. But about that time, it's creeped over the berm and its warming rays start to make you a little less frozen than you were. And then it comes your turn to shoot. And then when you get up to shoot, you realize the sun's peeking over the berm right where the target is. And it's really, really hard to see. Matter of fact, if you watch my run coming up, you'll notice that even though the first stage I had to shoot with both hands, freestyle, I could shoot any way I want, and then the second point you shoot strong hand, and the last point closest to the target you shoot one-handed, I actually get better the farther I go forward, even though I'm shooting progressively less stable shooting stances. And the reason for that is simple visual acuity. By the time I got to the forward position, I could see the target clearly, so I could start making hits. I did have to do a reload on this. It took me one magazine to get through the first two parts of the stage, and on the third part of the pistol portion, I started with a fresh mag, and weekend shooting, and it shows that's my weakness. Also, this shows a really good reason why you should film your shooting. Not just to make great videos for YouTube, but also to help with your memory and your shooting technique. In my mind, I did this whole pistol portion of the stage in one mag, but as you clearly watch, I did not. So sometimes it helps clear up your own misperceptions. But it was interesting. Even though it was hard to see, you'll notice that in the mini-mo target, which is a target with a circle in the center that you have to hit, that pops up the head, which you then consequently have to knock back down, that it takes a very specific hit to get it to go. And if you notice when I'm doing this, every time I'm hitting the center, but it's not quite enough to always flip the head up. Being accurate is good, being very accurate is a lot better. Obviously, the pistol portion of this stage is the determining factor. If you can get through the pistol quickly, you can probably finish the whole stage. If you get hung up on pistol, you're kind of in the hurt locker a little bit. But after you finished up the pistol section, you dashed over to a mock-up of a wooden pickup truck, and there were 3 X's, and you had to shoot from the positions marked by the X's. So that simulated shooting around the tailgate, that simulated shooting under the vehicle and over the hood. Once you got 2 hits on the target downrange, which by the way had a big hole cut in the middle of it to simulate a armored plate. So you had to either hit the head or get a low torso shot, and you had to get 2 hits. Once you were done on the truck, you moved over to a barricade. You could shoot from either side, and then you engaged the target and got 2 more hits. Once you got those hits, you unloaded your weapon, you showed clear. Once the RO cleared it, then it became a stick, and you could maneuver it however you had to, because you had to run over to a Connex box, climb up a railroad tie ladder that only went halfway up, and then get up on top of the Connex box, and they had a neat little barricade that had a T-slot cut in it. You had to get your weapon completely through or at least the barrel of it completely through the T-slot, and you had 2 targets roughly about 100 yards away. They were kind of like diamond mini IPSC size targets, and they were at the extreme right and left limits of the bay, and they forced you to have to maneuver because you couldn't double tap. You had to get 8 hits, and you had to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you had to maneuver yourself between each shot. You couldn't just lock in and hammer the target. Now pay very close attention when I'm on top of that Connex box, because once I get into the T-slot, get my first shot, my left side handguard falls off. A little visually distracting. And then I keep going at it and stuff, and then my right side handguard comes off. So now I have a handguardless rifle. And you know what? It was firing, it was still functioning. I just pressed on. Unfortunately, I'd taken more time than I should have on the pistol portion, and I didn't get to finish the rifle portion, and I ended up with not getting 4 of the hits I needed to get. Go ahead, take a look at my run through.
All right, shooter, are you ready? Stand by.
Hell, it's not like you're guarding for ammo. You can try it.
Exactly.
You can do it. It's just you have to finesse the rib behind the extractor and then. It'll work.
I can barely close this. I can barely close this with more than clipping out of chamber.
There, move forward.
Honestly, I now realize the biggest problem with the shooting in it is you just don't know where you're supposed to shoot. Because once I figured out I was throwing my rounds, it's easy.
I feel like it's much easier.
Yeah.
Because of the pistol.
Oh shit, I need
I thought it was better than this.
Should have got some of that 45 stopping power.
You have cut down mob.
No.
Oh, what did you have?
No, I think I didn't.
Oh, I did tell you that.
Cam, though. Open invite. Please send me an invite to the server.
Are you on Facebook? The $5 mark?
No.
You have to be, you get the $5 mark and then you get, and then it's called, you get called away. And it's fun because on the day that people something in their account, it'll be like, oh, they're gone. Because like some people don't do Patreon, some people like something. And it takes like I'm gonna have to swap up to 5.
CT move.
Alex!
Yep. Alright. Left big toe always gets colder than my right. I got frostbite in it one time.
How'd you do that?
7-day FTX and 14 grinder.
Oh, magazine for the right.
I realized
See that?
It wasn't bad, but I pretty much couldn't feel my big toe for about 3 years. Like I could kick it against shit, didn't matter.
Were
you able
Like,
easy peasy.
Black or blue or anything.
finding
For a long time, like a month out, it was always
I was like,
white.
wait, why does that look not?
So I think
Because
it
I
probably
could throw
damaged the
it in
vein.
my
Completely.
Yeah, might as well.
Less bad.
This edition got such barrel on it.
I know, I haven't worried about it too much.
Back well now.
I had 2 goals. Thank you.
No, I mean, but pretty much, if you come in here and do this, you better be kind of on the up and up, you know?
As you can see, it's a pretty challenging stage, and it was really fun. The hard part was the cold. That got right down into your core, and it was hard to manipulate things. The day before, I had done the run without gloves, and that wasn't a smart idea, and I was probably taking it right up to the safety line by doing that, because I literally lost all my fine motor skills. So I kept my gloves on the second day, and it helped somewhat, but it was still pretty bitterly cold, even by the time I started shooting, because on the first day, I was the first man to shoot out of the squad. On the second day, I was more towards the back half of the squad when I shot, and I had a little sun to warm me up, but not much. It was probably still in the mid-20s when I started pulling the trigger, and that was pretty brisk, and it definitely had an impact on my shooting. Definitely had an impact on me, because right up to the point I started to shoot, I was straight up shivering. However, that's what makes a brutality match. They throw things at you you're not expecting. I imagine this is a stage that in temperate weather, mid-60s, low 70s, completing the stage is probably not that hard, or still hard, but it would be easier than it was doing it in 20-degree weather. Now, one of the cool things they did here at this Desert Brutality match, on the second day, they had a Russian roulette stage, and it was really simple. You walked up to the line, and they gave you a revolver. They put in 6 casings. 4 of them had been expended, 2 were live rounds. They spun the cylinder and handed you the pistol. You had to point it down range, and it's real simple. If you got a click, you got 60 seconds off, so you basically lost a penalty. However, if you got the round that went off, you gained a penalty. Well, take a look and see what happened to me.
Okay, go ahead, step on up.
Okay. Oh.
Oh, Jake, what are you doing to these poor people?
Jake knows not to load it all the way up, right?
No, I'm saying he's
Okay, well, you can see I didn't win that. Thank God we got to point that down range instead of doing real Russian roulette. And yeah, it was a risk. It was a worthwhile risk. The day before, I had taken a penalty by not spinning the spinner on stage 1. And on this day, I had taken 4 penalties on the stage you just watched. So I was 5 penalties down. That's 60 seconds per penalty. That's 5 minutes worth of penalties. So the chance to lose one was kind of worth it, and it was especially worth it in the fact that I ended up in 3rd place. So, you know, the risk was worth it. I still managed to keep 3rd place, even taking a penalty, which is just luck more than anything. But it just shows that there was a big risk there. Had I been sitting with no penalties, I probably wouldn't have done it. But even if I had 1 penalty, I would have, because the chance of getting rid of that penalty I had incurred and going with just a clean time was well worth the risk. Well, the conclusions are, for the first half of Desert Brutality, Retro Heavy was a blast. Like I said earlier, got 3rd place in that division, quite unexpected, because the high caliber of shooters that were at this match was phenomenal. Everybody you shot with forced you to up your game. The stages were innovative. They had real-world military practicality. And there wasn't really any contrived stuff. Everything you did here tested your skill, whether it was your ability to move quickly, your accuracy after getting winded, how your gear choices affected how you negotiated obstacles. Whatever it was, you get it tested here. These stages are fun, they're innovative, they make you think, they challenge your shooting skills, and the atmosphere you have at a Brutality match is incredible because everybody's cheering everybody on. Everybody's not in this game for themselves. People will come up and offer to help, and if people learn something while they're running it, they'll pass that knowledge on to the next guy and stuff. And nobody's just going like, oh, I found the secret sauce and heck with that guy. No, everybody helped everybody out. People found out, they started to find out, hey, if you hit the spinner here, it might get a little better result. They pass that on, People were saying, hey, the rocket launcher isn't that heavy, so don't worry about it that much. You can push it a little bit harder. Just tips like that, things like that. It really makes a great atmosphere. Everybody's pulling for each other. And, you get to revel in their victories, and you feel their pain and the agony of defeat. It's a real team sport, even though the person you're really competing against is yourself. But no, wait, there's more. Yeah, that's right. Our coverage of Desert Brutality 2020 is not over yet. I shot in 2 different divisions over the 4 days of the event. You've just seen Retro Heavy. Stay tuned. Starting tomorrow, we'll start bringing you all the stages I did in Armored Plus P. We hope you're finding this coverage of Desert Brutality informative and exciting. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and tune in tomorrow for Stage 1 of Armored Plus P.